How's it going? Rachel here from Forge Le Femme. We are live, and it's a Friday kickback and chill. Just going to be hanging out, taking it easy. I'm actually trying to go live on Rumble as well for the first time as I go live on YouTube. So that's where we are, and looks like Rumble prefers landscape mode, which is a bit of a bummer because YouTube does vertical mode, or at least my phone does. But yeah, that's where we're at. Let's see. We'll try that. And it looks like, yes, it looks like I'm live. I need to get another tripod or something is what it looks like. Let's see if we can move that a little bit. Actually, I'll move this back. So let's see if that'll help. Get some tools out of the way. There we go. That's as far back as I can get that for now. But the way that is. Okay. Wow, that is really bright. Will that help? Oh, that's like right in the perfect spot. It's like blue, like a white light razor beam. Can you hear me? Hello, Trajan. Am I coming in? I've been having some volume issues lately. Oh no, I'm not sure you can hear me. Uh-oh. I don't know how to ask a poll. Okay, all right. Like the past few lives I've had, I was not coming in and I was just talking to the heavens, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I gotta get something to block that sun out. Okay, let's see. That might work. Let's see. Okay. Do some crazy rigging up here. I'll do this. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's better. Man, that was like straight beam to like where your words are coming in at. It was, yeah, very bright. It's actually still kind of bright, but not as bright as it was. I didn't realize it would do that when I set this up and I had it all ready to go. It was actually not that way, but never really gone live with the door open, so I'll kind of like learning as I go. As I say, most speeds. All right, we'll put that. Not the best idea, but we'll give it a shot. It's working for what it is. Okay, muting happens. Yeah, I actually last night I had to actually restart my phone. Like my app completely glitched out on me, and it was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, what happened? And God, I gotta fix that. But someone was telling me like, they couldn't hear me the whole time, and I didn't know it. And then they told me that they did. They couldn't, and I was like, oh crap! So I had to like restart. And luckily they came back when I restarted, and they were like, all right, you're good now. All right, Triton says, by the way, my name is Robert, but if you call me Bob, you have to pronounce it backwards. What do they call that? A palindrome. I knew a guy named Pirate Bob, and that's actually how I remember what a palindrome is. I remember I was actually a bartender at a place, and they called him Pirate Bob because he got injured at work, so he had to wear the eye patch for a while. And I was he was a regular where I worked like for like 25 years, so he like knew like everybody, kids and all. And he or radar, and anyway, he's the guy that told me about what a palindrome is. But I remember one night I saw him walking down the street, and this guy had a lot to drink, and I was like, oh no, it's Pirate Bob. I'm gonna pick him up and give him a ride. And so I did. I was like, Bob, hey, come on, get in the truck, dude. And he's like, Rachel. He was like not able to talk real well, and he was looking out of one eye because he was intoxicated. And I was like, Bob, get in the truck. Let me take you where you gotta go. And he's like, okay, all right, kid, I'll get in with you. And then he just like sits in and doesn't shut the door. And I'm like, Bob, you got to shut the door. He goes, it's okay, kid. We're good. Just go. Let's go. And I'm like, Bob, you got to shut the door. Like at the minimum, you have to shut the door for us to go. And he's just like, it's okay. It's okay, kid. And I'm like, Bob, shut the door. Let's go. So he shut the door. And he wanted me to take him to another bar. And I was like, okay, because there was actually some people there that were regulars at the place I bartended. And I'm like, all right, he's going to be with them, so he'll be fine. And I took him to the bar, And like his only lucid moment was actually when I got him there and he was getting ready to get out. He stopped and he goes, "I'm the only real pirate in this town." And he got out and went and hung out with the other regulars. Pirate Bob was a unique guy. I didn't do that for everybody. I did that for very, very few people. Pirate Bob was one of those guys that was just kind of a local legend in a lot of ways. I don't know. Everybody knew Pirate Bob. He's just a really well-liked, good guy. He was like that guy that could like hitchhike anywhere and everybody would know him. Rush. What do they call them? Bands of Rush. I can't remember what they call them. It's a good band though. Rest in peace, Neil Peart. There we go. I'm going to start on sheath making. Yep, I'm going to start cutting some stuff for it because that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. All right, so let's get this going. I'm going to be making sheaths for these two knives today, actually, right here. Oh, yeah, I'm live on Rumble as well. But yeah, I'll be making sheaths for these little end cuts that I made. Now let's see how far I want this to go. Slide you up a little bit. Come on. Oh, that's good enough. Whatever. We'll do this. Okay, we'll call that good. Then we'll do it right about here. And right about here on this side. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, that looks like that'll work. And assuming these are straight lines, I'll be able to score this along this line. That's not rocket science, though, is it? It's leather work, for God's sakes. Come on. There we go. Now we can do it. Now I want to score it straight down. Can't even grip this thing. I'm like losing my marbles today. Okay, so I got that there. Get this. All right, and Trejon says, I found a bunch of files at the thrift store in Ann Arbor, but no Farrier's rest. I would think you want a thicker file to draw out. A thicker file to draw out, what do you mean? And I asked that because these are actually made from, this is made from a file, this is made from a Farrier's rasp. I actually use both. This was made from a file, and the file didn't start a whole lot thicker than what this is. Like I'm not like some Smiths start with like a 1-inch bar, like a square bar or like a 1-inch round bar. I have done that, but I since I use files, I always start out with kind of like a bar shape. But what am I trying to say? I don't know. No, it doesn't matter about the thick. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. Depends on what you're trying to make. And like, I am making a Bowie knife right now, and it's made out of the file I started with was actually, I'll show you the size file that it started from. Roundabouts. I actually have the actual file out there at the Forge for the remainder of it, but it's about, yeah, this is probably pretty close to what it is that I started with right here. You can see that's got a lot of meat, and this is where it stands right now. And it's, you know, it's a little bit thinner. This is, I don't know, it might be 7/16. This one, the file. And then this one's probably at about 5/16. I'm going to probably thin it down to about 3/16. I don't actually measure stuff like that. I go by feel. Overall, be it thickness, width, anything like, or length even, it's always by like rough estimation. But yeah, so like I said, this one is going to get drawn out in both lengthwise this way, and then also like make it taller. And I did it with a file that thickness so I could have more to work with, I guess you could say. Like if I wanted it to be this size, I could go that size. Or if I wanted to have like a thicker spine, I could keep it at a thicker spine. So that's why I chose the thickness that I had. For machetes, that's actually still depends. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this could be considered a machete of sorts. And this one, that's about 3/16 inch spine. And, it tapers, has the distal taper on it. And, well, proximal, whatever way you want to view it. But no, this one's about 3/16 at the spine. Hang on, I'll show you. This one right here. This will work. Now, granted, this is Southeast Asia, and they do view things a little bit differently. But this one does have a taper on it, a distal taper, proximal taper. Not all machetes do. Like South America, they don't always taper them. Some do, some don't. But this one, you can see it's got a really thick spine, and then it tapers to really thin. And then the whole design of it is part of why it is so tapered at the end and strong here. The why and the how. Thank you. I did not make this one, though. This was made in Burma by the Kachin tribe. I actually have two of theirs. Their machete was a blade I had to make on Forged in Fire. That's actually how I learned about them. And then I got into what was like their ethos and everything, and became a huge fan of them. And then I was like, man, I want to have one of their machetes. And then I was able to get two of them. I was pretty excited about that. They actually, it's kind of fun to talk about. So the Kachin came across with this squared end. For one, they weren't allowed to have pointed blades at the time. But the part of this was, and I don't have the scabbard out here, but in Southeast Asia, not just in Burma, they're big into their scabbards will be open on one half, and it'll be like rattan wrapped, just a few wraps around it, like maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4, 5 or 6, depending. And it's like it's carved on the sides so that it can fit in. They're actually very tight, and it's completely open elsewhere. And they do that because, like I said, this end was actually made for digging in the jungle, and their soil is so relatively soft that they can get in there and just dig at it. And then they'll use this, and they'll just dig in the dirt with it, and then they'll do whatever they got to do. And then they also have the ability for machete work, and then this can be used for more beastly tasks. But also, it was a headhunting sword. That was what they was all about at one time. Oh, yeah, it went out. Yeah, it's Southeast Asian blades. I hate calling them weapons because they're tools. Like I just explained, they put a shovel in, like on the end of it. Yes, they did headhunting and all that, but I could take a branch off a tree and make that a weapon. I like calling them like just blades. And Southeast Asia is like my favorite in the world. I really like where they were going with things. They have so many designs, truly, and they're all so unique too. Sometimes even just like island to island, especially like in the Philippines, they could get really intricate in like, for one, design, but two, like even like the artisanship and like their handles and stuff like that. The Filipinos are, man, they have some of the nicest, coolest handles I've ever seen. And it's actually been heavily integrated into the American Bladesmith Society, and you can see it more these days. And it's pretty cool to see the evolution of it influencing America even. But yeah, Southeast Asia, they're like my favorite when it comes down to stuff like that. I mean, I can't say like they got it better than anyone else because everything was made specifically for their little area. Like I said, even like island to island can differ. And it's like, I'm gonna have to shut the door. Ain't that a bummer? All that fresh air. There we go. It is what it is. Oh, it's coming in through like one little laser beam. John says, a pen is just a writing utensil until it's considered an assault pen. I actually had a friend that always carried an ink pen in his pocket. And he goes, just in case you gotta use it. That was his tool of choice. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it and the reality of things. This is just a fist. When I start swinging it around, it can get messy, or things can get messy. I think that's a Jim Carrey line. Actually, I think that is a Jim Carrey line from Me, Myself, and Irene. That is a funny movie. Okay. Oh, well, that was a bad cut. All right. I remember when I was a kid and I was using an X-Acto knife, and it was like my first time really using one, and I was always a very mischievous kid. And I was using it pretty much without really any idea of what an X-Acto knife could do at that time. Like I was told it was razor sharp, very dangerous, yada yada, but I didn't fully understand the concept of that. And I remember I was cutting something and it did like a jerk, and I think it actually went across like the top of my thumb. I didn't need stitches or anything like that, but it got me very good. I've been cut by razors so many times. I remember one time, this is something you'll remember, is seat belts from yesteryear in the back seat would go like in the back seat, like in the seat, like between the two cushions in the back. And I'm not actually sure what this was about, but my friend had this really awesome T-Bird from the early 80s. And I went to get the seatbelt to get out of between the seats. And there was a utility knife blade that was somehow between the seats that like he dropped or something. And that actually went straight across all four of my fingertips. And I remember I was like, oh my God, because it was so sharp. I felt it, but I didn't. And I remember my hand was just like bleeding all over my hand. And my friend was like, wait, what the heck just happened? Like, what do you mean you cut yourself on a razor blade? Like, where did it come from? And I was like, I don't know. We found it in the seats though. Super Troopers. Oh, live streaming is fun. Definitely is. Like, I mean, lately, actually, my live streams have been a ghost town. Like, normally there'll be quite a few people here. No, you see, like, there's only I don't know if you can actually see how many are here, but there's only 2 people in my live right now. Normally on Fridays, I would get 5 to 10, and people would be talking and everything. But I'm not getting it right now. Like the past week, it's been really slow. And I mean, like the tying flies, though, that's definitely a neat thing in and of itself. And that has a fly fishing, that is like a whole world unto itself. I had no idea like how into it people were. And that's it's well, it's its own world, just like, you know, knife making. But I was doing research on the low numbers, and it was saying that apparently February can be low for all kinds of interactions. I don't know how true that is because I didn't look like too far into it. But I will say this: it seems like it could be true. Okay, let's get this thing lined up. Yeah, that'll work. I really should have my contact cement out here. Oh well, I did it last time without it. Do it again without it. The heck? How did I do this? Did I do this with this? It's kind of wild. Where's my little hammer at? Huh. Ain't that interesting? Okay, I'm just gonna skip past that and continue on with something else. I don't want to be too confused. No, that's a little too far field. Still a bit far. I'm doing an adjusting right now on my leather working tool. I don't actually know what this tool is called. I call it a gouge. And it's this right here, and it sets it to where you can run down the side. Well, this will be like your depth finder. And then this little black thing in the middle has got a little hole, and it's really sharp, and it will go through and make like a trench. And it'll be like somewhat of a protection for the thread that you sew the item together with. Let's show you. That might actually work. Let's actually tilt this down a little bit. Let's show the work. I cannot meditate in quiet. I have to be productive. The Forge and Vice are a great place to unwind. The Forge and Vice? What is the Vice? Okay, yeah, you can. Okay, you can somewhat see that. Oh, you just do what you're supposed to do over here, phone. Well then, it is what it is. Let's do it again. Let's get 2. Sometimes I'll even go 3 passes, but this one so far it's just 2. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the little gouges in there now, and those are going to be what protects the thread unless the thread kind of lay in there and give it kind of a like a base layer, so to speak. Or base layer, it's not really what I was trying to say. I am so tongue-tied today. I am, oh my, one of them days, I guess. But it is nice weather out there. It's supposed to be like a high of 42 tomorrow, I think. 43, something like that in my area. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, actually, that'll work. Oh, yeah, I definitely, that's, okay, I got you. Yeah, I definitely am not on the lingo on fly tying. I've seen it done only one time, and it was on a show called How It's Made, which was a really good show. I liked it better when it was less Canadian. The accent, I never could do the accent. I missed that show, though. It was such a good show. I wind up doing that there. How weird. But yeah, that was definitely a cool show. They used to do like really cool animations and stuff before everything they were doing. You didn't have to, but it was like kind of fun to guess what they were going to be doing before it got to that point of you finally figuring it out. Okay, there's that. And now we'll do this. Not, I don't even know what these tools are called. I wish I knew what the names of my tools were called. I just call them leather tools. Let's get some things lined up here. And the way I'm going about this is about the most difficult way ever. Like I said, I should have got contact cement, but that's in the house, and I'm not going to go get it. I'm going to sit here and protest and make my life more difficult. Because if you got to learn a lesson, make it a hard lesson. At least that's how I learn. I don't learn anything the easy way. I don't know what my problem is, but since I could remember, if there was a way to make it hard to learn, I found a way. I don't know why. All right, Trojan says, time to finish up my workday. Glad I could catch your live stream. All my best to you. Hey, it is Friday. Have a fantastic weekend. What is it? Weekend Warrior. Yep, that's a good song. I might even play that today. I ain't heard that in years. That used to be like my favorite song on the riff, and they started off with "It's the Weekend." So, all right, have a fantastic weekend. All right, let's get this back. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Well, there goes my keys. As you see, I am just doing some, I guess you could call it, I think I call it pinking. Plinking? I don't know. It's just getting the holes in, and I am doing this in a way, like I said, that is way harder than it would ever need to be, but it's just in my DNA to work harder, not smarter sometimes. Just one of those human moments, I guess. Let's see. All right, actually, let's just cut this one now.